Hey guys, what's up? Kyle Dixon here. In this video, I'm going to be showing you guys the exact process on how to set up cold email infrastructure the right way and some good tools you guys could use and some things to know about each of these tools. So I'm going to be covering everything from how to set the inboxes, where to get the inboxes at the cheapest places, domains, email sending tools, enrichment tools, intent signals, all that stuff. So I guess the first logical place to start with this whole process is the domains. So for domains, kind of hopping straight into this is I usually buy from GoDaddy or Namecheap. Now you could get them from wherever you want. It doesn't really matter too much on where you buy them, but I get mine from GoDaddy or Namecheap. Okay. Now, once I buy them, I wait 30 days before I start sending emails. So you want to age your domains at least 30 days before you start sending emails. You could push it and do 21 days. It's up to you. I've done that before and it's fine, but ideally you want to wait 30 days. Okay. Now for the next step, only have 2 to 3 inboxes per domain. So what does this mean? This means, for example, an inbox would be Kyle@Nike.com. That's one inbox, right? That's one inbox per domain. Now imagine I have another inbox called Kyle.D@Nike.com. That's 2 inboxes per domain. Now you know what a third looks like. It could be Ryan@Nike.com, right? So that'd be 2 to 3 inboxes per domain. Anything over that, and you're gonna have too many cold emails being sent from one domain, which is going to destroy your domain, basically health. So there's 3 different types of deliverability infrastructure things you need to really think about here when it comes to like infrastructure wise. So there's copywriting and stuff like that. But the 3 main things are inbox health, domain health, and IP address health. Now Google and Microsoft take care of the IP address health. If you do buy private SMTP server inboxes, you will have to take care of the IP health yourself. Okay, so IP you don't really have to worry about too much unless you're buying SMTP inboxes, which I don't really recommend doing in the beginning. If you want to do that in the future, once you get more experience, you could do that. But for Google and Microsoft, you don't really have to worry about that process. So now for domain health, how you hurt domain health is by blasting too many emails from too many inboxes under one domain. So the way we take care of the health of the domain is limiting the amount of inboxes we have per domain, if that makes sense. Now, inbox health is not sending too many emails per inbox, okay? Now, another thing to keep in mind for domains is only send cold emails from the secondary domains. So what does this mean? If your primary domain is Nike.com, you should buy secondary domains that are GoNike.com, GetNike.com, and you send cold emails from the secondary domains. So if you start sending cold emails from the primary domain, Nike.com, and you get your primary domain blacklisted, then your website's not even going to show up on Google because your domain health for your inboxes is tied to your website domain health. It's the same domain. So if you have and the same thing goes if you have a good domain for your website. So if you have a good domain for your website, and you start sending cold emails, your deliverability is going to be really good in the beginning until you destroy it from cold email. So make sure you buy secondary domains, okay? Now for inboxes, I buy my inboxes through scaled mail. On average, each inbox is $3.50. Now, if you buy these through Google, it's $8.40 per inbox. So these are still going to be Google inboxes. As you guys can see here, you could buy Google inboxes. You guys could buy Microsoft inboxes. You could buy, I believe, SMTP inboxes. That's what I was talking about with the IP address stuff. So you could buy them here. Now, I recommend getting Google inboxes. They have the highest deliverability right now. So if you're going to get started, get this one for $140 a month, 40 boxes, 20 domains required. You could send up to 24,000 cold emails per month. Now, if you want to level it up, I recommend getting this one. So you can send 42,000 cold emails per month, $245, 35 domains, 70 inboxes. And you can keep leveling it up. If you want to get to 100 inboxes, $350 a month, 60,000 emails. As you can see, you can get whatever you want here, right? Now, what I recommend when you get your inboxes is that you only send 20 cold emails per day per inbox. So if you have 10 inboxes, you should only be sending 200 cold emails a day across all 10 inboxes, okay? Now you want to send 25 warm emails a day. So what this means is inside of the tool that we'll talk about later, Instantly, they have a warm-up automation where essentially there's other people who also use Instantly, right? And it will send emails back and forth from your account to other Instantly accounts and from their Instantly accounts to your account. So what these warm emails are going to do is it's going to counter interact the cold emails you send so your domain health and inbox health can stay healthy. Because if you're sending 20 cold emails and your reply rate is like 2%, Google's going to see that and see that you're spam. Because usually when you send emails to people, you're getting replied back to at least 30 to 50% of the time, right? So that what the warm emails are going to do is it's going to simulate good conversations happening in your inboxes and on the domain level too, which is going to basically keep your domains and inboxes healthy. Now, so you want to send 25 warm emails a day, 25 cold emails a day, which means each inbox should be sending around 45 emails a day in total. Okay. Now you want to warm up your inboxes for at least 14 days inside of Instantly, and you want to ramp up the warm emails. So the first day of sending warm emails should be like 2 emails a day. The next day you should be sending 4 warm emails a day. The next day you should be sending 6 warm emails a day. And you're going to slowly build up to that 25 warm emails a day over a 14-day period. And the same thing with the cold emails. Once you launch your cold emails, the first day you're only going to send like 1 or 2 cold emails a day per inbox. The next day you'll send about 3 or 4 cold emails a day per inbox. And you'll slowly ramp that process up over 2 weeks to like 20 emails a day per inbox. So that's domains, that's inboxes. Now the email sending tool, Instantly. So inside of Instantly, basically what this tool does is it sends emails for you automatically. So instead of you having to email all your prospects one by one manually, you could just put your lead list in there with a CSV file like this, and then you put your lead list in there, and then you could put your schedule in here. Okay. So then you just press launch or resume campaign. So that's kind of what that looks like. Basically, infrastructure-wise, I don't know why I'm on here. So that's the automated part. So it sends emails automatically. Now, it also has an AI spam checker for copywriting. So kind of what that looks like is if I go here and we preview some copywriting, then I test it out. Spin tag. So like basically what this does, it looks for spam words in your copywriting. So it says this is a spam word. So there's over like 300 to 400 different spam words. And if Google sees a lot of those spam words in your copywriting, even if your inbox health, your domain health, and your IP address health are good, if it sees spam copywriting, it won't even send it through. So fast could be a spam word. Now it doesn't need to be 100% perfect, but it needs to be as close to perfect as possible. So like I would say around 1 spam word or less, ideally 0. Okay, then make sure you press save. Now daily placement test. So inside of Instantly, there's things called daily placement test. So you basically, this is the most real data you can get on your deliverability. So you could send, all these different emails from all your inboxes, testing out your copy, which essentially is just testing out if your inbox health is good and your copywriting is not spam. Now, the next thing is they have AI reply bots. So if you get, the biggest thing in cold email is when you get a lead is we're responding back as fast as possible. So they now have these AI reply bots where once you train them up, they could essentially reply back to every single lead you get instantaneously. So I think Harvard did a study and said if you reply back to a lead within like 1 to 5 minutes, you have a 300% increase in conversions. So that's why this AI reply bot is so huge, because imagine you're like taking a poop in a toilet, right? And you get a new lead and you missed that lead, your percentage of closing is going down, unless you have like a SDR or something like that, right? Now, same thing I talked about earlier. They automate the warm up and warm up process for cold and warm emails. So if I go to here, you can see warm emails that are sent, 20 a day, right? And you can see the settings. So I can set a campaign limit, increase slow ramp up process. I just bought some more inboxes, so these aren't set up properly yet. I should set that up right now, 20, right? And then inbox placement test. Oh shit. And then so you can increase your warm up. So you want to increase by 1 or 2 emails a day, and then daily warm up limit, reply rate to the warm up. So how many of your warm up emails are getting replied to? Now your open rate should really be around like here. Just put it in the higher range. There's no really perfect number. I turn this on. I send cold emails on the weekends, so I disabled that. So that's kind of like the whole warm up process of Instantly. Now the Unibox is essentially a place, I'm not going to show this because I have all my conversations in there. But essentially it's this place where, imagine a unicycle, right? A unicycle has 1 wheel. A bicycle has 2 wheels. So a Unibox is essentially an inbox for all your inboxes that are sending cold emails. So when I go here, all these all have different inboxes, right? So if I get a reply back to one of these, that means I would have to monitor all 40 or 50 or 100 inboxes. What this does is right here, my Unibox, all my replies go in one place. So any replies that I get go into one spot. Now for analytics, you could check your reply rate, your positive reply rate, your opportunities, your conversions, emails sent, and stuff like that for all your different campaigns and on an account level. Now there's also a CRM in here. I'm not going to show that because I want everyone to see my data. But there's a CRM in here, and essentially it's like a card-based system, like kind of like HubSpot. And there's basically a free CRM in there. I mean, now there's advanced stuff in that CRM that you won't get unless you pay the upgraded plan, but it's good enough for what you need to do. Now there's AI spin tax. So in Instantly, you could create basically spin tax. So what this spin tax looks like is it looks like this. So for example, at random, pick hey first name, hi first name, hello first name. So let's look at this here. See, I have different combinations. Let's look at preview. So we got hi Mason, right? Hi Mason, hello Mason. See how it's randomly switching this up? So basically what this does is I have it through a bunch of different places here. Random. How this works is you want to have as many different combinations of your copywriting as possible, because if you send the same email 10,000 times, Google will recognize it and see that you're just blasting spam. So what you want to do is you want to create different combinations of your email, as many as possible, that essentially is the same email, just written differently. So every email isn't the same. If every email isn't the same, Google's not going to pick up on trends, and you're less likely to be marked as spam. Now, lastly, lead database. Instantly has a database, I believe it's up here. Yeah, super search, where you could filter by location, job titles, industry keywords, employees, revenue, lookalike, domains. So yeah, there's all different stuff in here. You can even tell AI, hey, give me a list of kitchen remodelers in Arizona, and I only want CEOs. So I've actually never done this in here before because I use Clay. Okay, well, I guess it's not liking that. Let's remove that for now. There's no way they don't have any kitchen remodeling contractors in here. Oh, there's industry. Construction. Let's see what we got here. Construction, right? So there's 34,000 results. And yeah, you can look through here, and you can filter by keywords too. So you could put like kitchen in there. And then these are all gonna be like kitchen remodeling contractors. Okay, so if I look up, you know, all these different companies, if it has keywords, that means they have these keywords on their website. So you could also exclude keywords like roofing, right? If you don't want to reach out to roofing contractors, but I don't want to spend too much time on that. But that's basically the lead database. Make sure my computer doesn't die here. Okay, Clay. So Clay is a tool that you don't need because it is super expensive, but it's extremely helpful. So in this tool, you could enrich data, score data, and personalize data. So enrich data means you just get more data on the prospect than you already have. So for example, right, if we scrape a bunch of window replacement companies, all we're gonna have is the window replacement company name, the name of the CEO, the website, and the domain. Like stuff, basically basic stuff like that. But we don't know how much this company's making. We don't know how big this company is. So an example of an enrichment would be getting the head count of an organization, getting their web traffic. We're getting these enrichments that we could use to score the prospect against our ideal customer persona. So for example, if we're only trying to work with window replacement companies that have over 50 employees, we need to enrich the head count on all the window replacement contractors that we scrape to make sure they all have over 50 employees. So that's what we do. Enrichment, we could then score it, and then we could then personalize it. So one of the examples is cleaning company names, personal names, and domains. So when you scrape a list, the data is going to be kind of messy. For example, if I come into here, when I scrape this data from Clay, this is Clay's database that I scraped. This was the first name, Jason M. That's not our first name. Their first name's Jason. Look at this one. I don't know how to pronounce it, but Hamdan Mohammed. That's two names in the first name. Juan Manuel, Anas Wardy, Ronaldo in all caps, like that. Dr. Pritanto, it's not a first name, right? So what we use for Clay is we clean the first name up. For some reason, it's not showing it properly. But for example, Jason, I told it to output Jason. Now the clean name is Jason, right? So I can tell AI to go through all the first names and return just the first name cleaned. So I can do that whole process. Same thing for last name. Same thing for their full name, right? If you look at full name here, we have CPA in it, all caps. So we could clean the names in here with AI, okay? So that's kind of that process for cleaning stuff. And then you could score it. So for example, we'll come back to that. Now we could find more emails in your total addressable market. So for example, most cold emailers only have one tool, which is usually like Lead Magic or something like that. So how this tool works is it's called a waterfall. So as you can see here, I tried to find the work email for these different rows. I found a few, but I didn't find any right here. If you look down here, I found it with find email, right? So basically how this process works is it first takes Lead Magic to try to find the work email. Then it'll try ICPs to try to find the work email. And if that ICPs doesn't find the work email, it'll try to find it with find email. If find email doesn't find it, it'll try to find it with Prospeo, right? And it'll keep going down this list until it tries to find all the emails, and then it will output them right here, right? And it will also validate them. So you can pick your validator. So mine's Lead Magic, right? So that's what I mean by Clay could find more emails. You could do this waterfall process that will help you find more of those emails. Okay, AI research on prospects. So how does this work? Okay, this is a fun one. So AI research on prospects. I don't think I did any in here. But for example, if I say, so I go to Claygent, it's a web scraper. Return me the colors of the website. This is a really random one I've never done before, but website. And then I get the row for website. I didn't create a website column, but that should do the job. Okay, it's creating the prompt. So there's certain prompts on the way you prompt the web scraper. So you basically just tell what you want, and then AI will, inside of Clay, create the prompt for you as you see it. Like I don't know how to type all this stuff out. It'll take a long time. So I just tell AI to do it for me. Okay, it's gonna look at the CSS variables on the back end of the website. Okay, it's almost done here. Okay. Now, the cool thing is about Clay is you also can use your own API key, so you don't have to spend an insane amount of money with Clay credits. So my API key hooked up here. We'll run this for 10 rows. This is a bad example, but you could say, for example, case studies, right? Or you could say, if you don't have the CEO's name, you could say, hey, scrape the whole website and return me back the CEO or the owner or the COO's name. And then you could take the name and you can find the email. See, you could use basically all these different tools to enrich the data. Okay, of course it's not gonna work. Okay, so this is, for example, it returned back 6 colors. So one of the colors was, okay, it's returning in hex. So the next step I could tell it to do is another AI column. I could input all the hex codes and say, hey, what are these hex codes in, words? Like, is this red? Is this green? Stuff like that. I could have also told Clay to do that, but not gonna lie, I kind of gotta take a poop. So just trying to be quick with it. Okay, so there's also insane amount of enrichment data. So for example, if I go to add enrichment, I could basically find monthly web traffic. I could find the latest funding round, all their website tech stack. So what technology is hooked up to their website, like HubSpot, Instantly, RB2B. I could find the revenue. I could find how many job openings they have. I could determine the revenue models with the AI web scraper I just showed you. Does the company offer a free trial? We could check their website. There's all these different things you could do inside of there to basically enrich more data, and you'll run it for all the columns. Okay, now AI personalization. So now inside of Clay, you can basically set up conditional things. I'm not gonna go too deep into this because this is a whole video in itself, where I could personalize cold emails with all this enrichment data that I was just showing you guys. So for example, hey John, saw you had a new job opening at Nike.com for this position, and that position, and that company name would be enrichments that you got from Clay, right? So hey, I saw you had a software opening position at Nike.com. I don't know why they would have a software opening position, but you could basically just personalize the cold emails based off the variables that you enrich, okay? So every email is different and personalized. If the emails are personalized, they're way more likely to respond. And okay, now the cool thing about this is you could automate the full process of this thing. So you could set up a whole table with all these different enrichments step by step. Hey, I want you to clean the first name. I want you to clean the company name. I want you to do this. And you could create a template. And then you can just import a template, put all your data in, and the whole table will run from left to right. And you could even send it to your Instantly tool. So right here, add to campaign. So you can literally map everything out. Personalization, custom variables. So once the whole automation runs, right, you have the table set up like a template. You put the data in, the whole table will run from left to right. It will clean all the names. It will find the emails. It will scrape the technology stack. It will find the monthly web traffic on their website. It will find any job openings. And then it will score all the data based off all the enrichments that I got. And then it will personalize the cold emails. And then it will automatically send to Instantly.ai, right? So that's the crazy thing about Clay is you can set up these automations that enrich your data, score your data, personalize your data, instead of having to redo it manually or one at a time. Now, lastly, I'm running out of time. I'm at 3%, you guys can see here. Intent signals. So Common Room, Unify, Clay, these are all different intent signal platforms. There's hundreds of intent signals. I'll show you those in a second. But something I really want to tap on, and then we'll come back to those, is RB2B. So what's RB2B? RB2B is something you could put on your website. So if you use GA4 and you're familiar with it, the only data you really get is like the age, the gender of the person on your website. you don't really know who they are. You don't know their name. You don't know their company name. So what our B2B does is you put it on your website, and then it will track the different companies and names. So it will tell you, hey, Kyle at Real Marketing was on your website. So as you can imagine, there's hundreds, if not thousands of people that go on your website that you don't know about. Our B2B tells you that. And then you could automatically send that data to Clay in a webhook, enrich that data to find the head count, what industry they're in, and then you could score them, and then you can send them a personalized cold email and do that all automated. So that's the cool thing about Clay, once again. Now, Trigify basically tracks different types of intent signals, mainly for LinkedIn. So it could track who liked your LinkedIn content, who commented on your LinkedIn content, who is viewing your profile, who are your connections, and they could take all that data, send it to Clay. You could have a Clay automation that enriches every single one of those prospects to find their head count, what industry they're in, and then you can take all that enrichment data and score it against your ideal customer persona, who, for example, might be, hey, I only want to work with SaaS companies that have a 10 to 50 head count. Okay, so it will take all that enrichment data, use AI to score that against your ICP to make sure they actually are an ideal customer. And if they are, it will automatically send them into an Instantly account and send them a cold email. And you can do that whole process automated. Now, lastly, on 1%. All right, guys, just came in clutch. I had 1% left on my laptop. Clutch that one up. Now, lastly, intent signals, Clay. How does this work? We'll hop into Clay real quick. We'll go to here. We'll go to, see, there's different signals here. There's job changes, news, and fundraising. Different types of intent signals here. Now, one of my favorite is news because there's so much to it. We'll just use Clay table, this. So you can take your whole Clay table. For example, you could take your whole total addressable market. So if you work with SaaS companies that are in the fitness industry, you could scrape all those SaaS companies, put them in a table, and track intent signals live. So when one of your companies in your total addressable market has one of these intent signals, you could automatically send them a cold email instantly. So for example, if one of the people in your market gets a new award or they're recognized for something, you could send them a cold email automatically. So the cool thing is you could take your whole market, all your ideal customers, and you could track all this different data on them. And when one of these things happen, you could send a personalized cold email. And if an email is personalized, they're like, I think 3 times more likely, if not like up to 10x more likely to respond. I've seen cold email campaigns with 30, 40% positive reply rates, which means if you're sending emails to 1,000 people, 300 to 400 of them reach back positive. So intent signal campaigns are like the highest positive reply rate campaigns, which is why this is so huge and why I'm going over it. So this is kind of more advanced, but if you're at this stage and want to implement this stuff, this is kind of where you look at it. So did any of the companies get, a new alliance partnership? Are any of them going bankrupt? Are any of them closing a new branch or opening a branch? Business expansion, you can see this stuff. Are they getting bought out? Are they cutting cost? Is there a new patent / trademark dispute or infringement? Did they just do a big sponsorship and donation? Downsizing, headcount's going down, employee strike, fundraising, they're going private, they're hiring. Are they going IPO? Is there a new merger termination? All these different intent signals you could track on your ideal customer persona. You just got to put them all in Clay and then pick the signals you want to track. And then when they happen, you send a very good personalized cold email to try to sell them something, right? So these are really the 5 things cold email infrastructure wise. You go, inboxes again through scaled mail, domains, email sending tool. I use Instantly.ai. You can start with $37 a month, but to really make some damage, you're gonna have to spend around $97 a month on this. Clay is $140, but with the API keys to save a bunch of money, it's like $344 a month. Intent signals, RB2B, I believe, is like, I think around $100 a month. This is around like $100, $200 a month, I think. And then Common Room, I think, is like $700, something like that. I I don't have common rooms, so I don't know, but I see a lot of people like it. I don't really need it right now. But yeah, so that's intent signals, Clay, email sending tools, domains, inboxes. That's everything you really need to know about cold email infrastructure. If you guys have any questions or comments down below, let me know. Also, check out my other video where I talk about how to save thousands of dollars on finding emails. And yeah, guys, that's it for today. Thank you guys so much for watching. Have a great day. Bye-bye.